After a big win on Monday night in the Valley of the Sun, the Cowboys move on to Sunday and the Los Angeles Rams, Week 4 of this 2017 season. Welcome to Cowboys Insider inside the Academy Sports and Outdoors studios here at the Star in Frisco, Texas. Bill Jones along with Nate Newton, Rick Goose Goslin, and Daryl Moose Johnston. As over the course of the next half hour, we preview what's to come on Sunday. Lot better mood is Nate Newton this week after a Cowboys win. Nate was a tough guy to be around last week after a loss to the Broncos. Much better this week. Let's get started with some opening statements, and let's start with Moose.
Well, when you play the Arizona Cardinals, you need your number 3 wide receiver to step up because Patrick Peterson will take your number 1 and challenge Dez. Tyrann Mathieu is going to take number 2 and track Cole Beasley all night. So I thought Bryce Butler and Terrence Williams in the passing game. All this talk about blueprint, the more athletes, the more skilled players you can have out there that can make plays, the harder it is for defenses to stop you.
You know, going on the road, I always believe that your defense should be solid. And it started a little slow for our defense, but DeMarcus Lawrence, Malik Collins, and even Tyrone Crawford got a sack. And when you're making plays on your defensive line, it covers up for your young secondary.
Yeah, if you had told me that Dez Bryant, Cole Beasley, and Jason Witten would catch a combined 4 passes for a handful of yards, I would have said this is going to be a loss. It's all about finding ways to win.
Dak Prescott came through in a very big way for the Cowboys, but how about this offense? And got exposed a little bit last week against the Denver Broncos. Does this restore what might have been some lost confidence? I don't know if there was lost confidence from among these guys in this Cowboys offense and what we saw in a 13-3 year last year, but maybe for the team, it is a confidence boost going forward.
Well, sure. I mean, you want to come out and have a good response, and that was the one word that we wanted to talk about last week was the response, specifically about the offensive line. How would they play? And it was a slow start, but that's what the running game is about. You try to tell people. Very rarely do you come out and just, light it up in that first quarter. It's about grinding and turning those 3s and 4s into 6s and 7s as the game wears on. So I thought there was positives with the offensive line. The big runs by Zeke, the 30 and the 20 were, late in the first half, and then through the second half. So I think they're trending in the right direction.
And I agree because you got to start with these guys as athletic as our offensive line is. You start getting guys moved. We ran sweeps, we ran a few traps. We started loosening guys up. And when we can get our guys moving, that's when they're the best. And as you saw at the end of the game where Lyle Collins and the right guard just moved these guys, man, and Zeke just fell in behind them. That's what you're talking about, wearing the defense down.
And I think this was Prescott's best game because he was back into reading the offense and going where the defense was taking you. First 2 games, he threw 25 passes to Dez. He was trying to force the ball to Dez. This game, if Dez was out, he was going to Bryce Butler, going to Williams. He was going to the guy who was open, not trying to force the ball to any of his elite receivers.
He was able to extend some plays, getting out of the pocket, and Bryce Butler found a way to get open downfield too, Goose.
Yeah, Butler's got the big play explosion. We saw that the other night.
Is he the long ball guy? I mean, because we haven't seen Dez make that 50-50 play yet. Is he that guy? Is Butler that guy?
Well, to me, it's not about one guy. I mean, that's the great thing about the teams around the NFL that have these big offenses. And you go to Atlanta, right away from last season, and they're starting to hit their stride again this season. Julio Jones, yeah, he's your number 1. He's your jump ball guy on the outside. But Mohamed Sanu, Taylor Gabriel, then you get into the backfield with Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Austin Hooper at tight end has now come up. The more weapons you can put out there, the better. So I would much rather have, Dez on his side when he's getting back into the flow of it. You're going to take him away, you're going to do those type of things. But then Bryce Butler has to make those plays when the opportunities.
And I also think Terrence Williams is still hobbled a little bit by that ankle injury that he suffered in the first game of the season. So it's been big for Butler to be able to step up. All right, defensively, obviously the star of this game was DeMarcus Lawrence. Maybe he's not DeMarcus Ware, but he's starting to play a little bit like DeMarcus Ware. In fact, 3 sacks. That's the first time a Cowboy player has had 3 sacks in a game since Ware 6 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm tired of hearing the whole contract talk, too. Oh, he's in a contract year. He's playing hard. No, he's not. He's healthy, and he's playing hard. He looks bigger. He looks stronger than he has, even last year, even in 2015. So, this is just a guy who finally feels good on the field, and you can see the transition from speed to power. He was a speed guy coming in. He's growing. The repertoire is getting larger.
By the way, Daryl sort of predicted this last week because he had seen the Cardinals the first 2 weeks of the season and thought that someone might have a big day against the right tackle for the Cardinals.
Mr. Jones talked war daddy. I don't know if he's a war daddy yet, But when I look at a guy like him with the enthusiasm that he has and the way he disrupts things, now you got Malik Collins feeling that energy. You got Tyrone Crawford. You got Benson Milward. You got guys making plays. And now that allows Sean Lee to run free. And this team, it's what, 75 plays? And they still kept him out of the end zone, down to 17 points. That was a great defensive effort.
Yeah, this is the first time the Cowboys have had 6 sacks in games since the 3rd week of the 2013 season, and that's when DeMarcus Ware was running around here. That game, ironically, was against the Rams.
And the Rams are next up for your Dallas Cowboys. And up next here on Cowboys Insider, we take an up-close look at Todd Gurley, Jared Goff, and those Los Angeles Rams coming to Arlington on Sunday.
Cowboys Insider, presented by Baylor Scott & White, is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, the official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys, AT&T, mobilizing your world, and by Baylor Scott & White. We're changing health care for life. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
1st down and 10 at the 10. And Prescott with a quarterback option. Running to the right. Spilled. Head over heels. Into the end zone. Touchdown Prescott.
Dak Prescott getting the Cowboys on the board for the first time late in the 2nd quarter of Monday night's game against Arizona. Welcome back to Cowboys Insider inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star. Bill Jones, Nate Newton, Rick Goslin, and Daryl Johnston. Los Angeles Rams come to Arlington on Sunday at noon. It's the surprising division-leading 2-1 Los Angeles Rams. And when you talk Rams, I think this year you start with Todd Gurley. Had a subpar season by his standards last year, but he is a big reason that the Rams have been able to score over 40 points in 2 of their first 3 games this year.
Yeah, he takes a lot of pressure off Jared Goff at that quarterback position, who's another guy who's continuing to grow. But young quarterbacks, their best friends are good running backs with a good running game, and then a tight end that can work coverage underneath. So he's got a couple of those pieces in place.
You know, I remember watching him last year. I mean, a couple of years ago when they came to the ranch, and they were sitting down eating, man. I walked around the corner, and he stood up, man, and y'all forgive me, but, man, I looked from his rump all the way down, and I hadn't seen a better-built guy. And I like, kid, who are you? He said, I'm Gurley. I'm like, I'm your man. We draft you. I mean, he's a specimen, man. He's a specimen. That's all I have to say.
And that was when the draft prospects came into Valley
Wow,
Ranch.
man.
Of course, the Cowboys had the 4th pick the year after that, I guess, when Jared Goff was taken by the Rams. But they made the most of their first-round picks here, Rick.
Yeah, I think you can. Both Goff and Gurley have been outstanding to start. I think it all goes to the offensive line. I mean, they have rebuilt this line. They signed 2 veteran Pro Bowl free agents, Andrew Whitworth at left tackle, John Sullivan at center. They got 2 high 2nd-round picks in Rod Haverstein and Roger Saffold. This line is giving Goff time to throw and Gurley holes to run through.
You can look at Andrew Whitworth, what he has done protecting Jared Goff, 2nd-year quarterbacks, blindside, and then you look at what's happening in Cincinnati right now, and that's probably a big reason Andy Dalton's having some issues with the Bengals right now.
Yeah, the Rams have only allowed 3 sacks all season.
That's it.
1 in the last 2 weeks and none last week. If the Cowboys bring the same pass rush they had on Monday night, it's going to be a heck of a game.
You know what's amazing about this is I think that most college quarterbacks are good. I think it's the coordinator or the head coach that can help these kids. And I think Sean McVay has done a great job with this kid, bringing him along.
It's all timing and circumstance for these quarterbacks coming out of the college game into the professional game. And everybody's kind of amazed that we're talking about the Rams offense this year. I mean, they were pedestrian last year. What is the change? Exactly what Nate said. Sean McVay. LaFleur was the quarterback coach for Matt Ryan last year. McVay was the mentor to Kirk Cousins last year. So you've got 2 great guys with quarterback minds. That's why Dak Prescott is going to have a great career here. He's got Wade Wilson, he's got Scott Linehan, and he's got Jason Garrett, the 3 guys in line. So Jared Goff, last year, his rookie year, had to just be thinking, what did I get myself into? How did I end up here?
Right.
And now this kid, I think the potential for him moving through the next few seasons, he's gonna play really well.
Well, the other thing, getting those 2 receivers from the Bills. I mean, both those guys had 100-yard games. You know, quarterbacks always get better when the talent around them gets better. I remember talking to Jimmy back in 1991. Aikman had that rough rookie year. He says, hey, the problem's not Aikman. I got to put better players around Aikman. As I put a better cast around him, he's going to be a great quarterback. And that's what you're seeing with Jared Goff.
You know, and the other thing, not only Woods and Watkins, but also Cooper Kupp, who is a terrific draft pick out of Eastern Washington, set all sorts of records in college. They are all Jared Goff's best friends right now. And we haven't even started talking about the Rams defense, now coordinated by Wade Phillips. We were there in the preseason when the Cowboys played the Rams, and Aaron Donald was a contract holdout, and it's obvious that Aaron Donald does not need training camp.
No, but he was a little bit rusty in that Washington game, his first game back. Much better against San Francisco last time out, but I can't wait for this matchup. Now, as a coordinator, I'm not going to put Aaron Donald on Zach Martin a whole lot. Chaz Green needs to be ready for this, but I think the inside battle, and I know you're going to be watching this, Zach Martin versus Aaron Donald inside this week could be one of the more enjoyable down in the trench type battles you'll see all season long.
And we're going to get into that in just a moment right here on Cowboys Insider. It is Nate's favorite topic, the Cowboys offensive line, when we come back.
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage. This segment is brought to you by DraftKings. Play for free today at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site.
Prescott in the gun. Bryant split right. They got a tight end and Elliott in the backfield. Witten releases in the right flat. Prescott over the middle to the 13-yard line. Bryant broke a tackle to the 5. Bryant still churning. Bryant to the 1. Bryant to the lip of the cup. Bryant's in for the touchdown.
Des Bryant would not be denied. Cowboys showing more fight this week against the Arizona Cardinals in a 28-17 win. The Rams are next. And with Daryl Johnston, Rick Goslin, and Nate Newton, I am Bill Jones. And about this Cowboys offensive line and the offense in general, already this season, the Cowboys have faced some pretty tough defenses. That does not change this week against the Rams. But what are you seeing out of the offensive line, Daryl?
I think they're moving forward. You know, the Denver game, people are going to talk about that, the whole blueprint thing. And, you know, there's very few teams that can line up and do with personnel what Denver was able to do to the Dallas Cowboys. The biggest thing was the offensive line. They started slow. And that would have been my biggest concern, you know, from the Monday night game is they came out and they were a little bit behind schedule. So I think it's going to be important for them because this is a very good defensive line. We got 3 number 1 round draft picks on our offensive line. They got 3 number 1s on their defensive line.
They got Michael Brockers. They got Ogletree. I'm talking about just the front 7. Ogletree. They got Donalds. They got a bunch of people that can play up front. But the key here is we got to scheme these guys. We just can't go run up in the middle of them like we tried to do Denver. We got to cut this defense. We got to run traps. We got to get outside. We got to get our offense back flowing because it's taking too long. Last year, we scored almost, on the first drive, we scored almost every time. This year here, we have not opened the opening drive with a score yet.
You know, offensive line is so much about chemistry. They say it usually takes 2 or 3 years for a line really to shape and mold and become a dominant unit. You know, with Free gone, with Leary gone, that was a cohesive unit these last couple of years. You know, we knew what we were going to get. Now, putting in 2 new pieces, it's still, like Daryl said, a work in progress.
That's a great point because that's 40%. You know, how many things lose 40%
right.
of what they were the previous year? I think sometimes people overlook that.
And what about going up against a Wade Phillips defense? What can they expect against a Wade Phillips defense?
5 guys.
Here it comes.
Yeah. He'll tell you that he don't rush a 5th man. That he's always going to rush 5 guys. And you just got to figure out who that 5th guy going to be.
All right, last week, Daryl Johnston told us the best game of the week in the NFL was the game he would be doing. It would be Atlanta and Detroit. And sure enough, what a finish. We go around the league when Cowboys Insider continues in a moment.
This segment was brought to you by DraftKings. Play for free today at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site.
Is first and goal at the 8. Elliott with a handoff coming to the right side. A block from Collins nearing the goal line. Touchdown, Ezekiel Elliott.
Zeke Elliott finding the end zone as the Cowboys wrapped up week 3 in the NFL on Monday night. Welcome back to Cowboys Insider inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios. Time to go around the league now, and let's get into that fantastic finish of the Falcons-Lions game. Fantastic if you're a Falcons fan, not so much if you're from Detroit, as Daryl Johnston saw firsthand, right?
Yeah, I have never seen a crowd just have to flip emotion. You think you won the game, and then all of a sudden, here comes the referee out with the call, and you go from winning the game to losing the game in a matter of about 45 seconds. So to take you through it, Golden Tate is ruled to score. All scoring plays are under review. They review it. They find out that his knee was down before he got to the end zone and he was touched. So it's short, but it was a moving clock, and Detroit did not have any timeouts left. So that has a 10-second runoff along with the reset. So there was only 8 seconds left at that point. So the Lions end up losing the game. And the big conversation we had is, I think they could have got up and got a playoff in 8 seconds. And I talked to Nate and said, boy, to get 11 guys on the offense in position, legal formation, snap the ball. Now, this is fourth down, so they can't clock it. They've actually got to run a play to score, with those 8 seconds. So I don't know if they can get that off at 8. And talk to Dean Blandino. 10-second runoff has always been a number that the league has looked at and thought was fair. So unfortunately for the Lions, it went against them.
Well, we do know that the Lions have a play in their hip pocket for a situation like that, and that would be a quarterback sneak by Matthew Stafford. The Cowboys painfully have seen that in the last several years.
Yeah.
You just got to hope that this team understands that was out of their control. They did everything they could to win the game. So get over that and go forward, because they have a good team.
Detroit is good.
All right, NFC East, Giants lose to the Eagles on a 61-yard field goal by the Eagles rookie Jake Elliott, but the Giants are now 0-3. Goose, how surprised are you the Giants are 0-3?
I thought the Giants would be competitive. I didn't think they'd win the division, but I thought they'd be competitive. But they never addressed the offensive line. That was a problem last year. They brought the same 5 guys back there. If you're going to repeat your mistakes, you're going to repeat your failures, and that's what's happening right now. They can't block. Because of that, Manning is always under pressure, and they can't run the ball. If you have those two things going against you, you're not going to win in this league.
A lot of people say don't take things a lot. Hey, don't read a lot into the preseason. But when I saw a rookie from Pittsburgh run by Flowers 3 or 4 times and got a couple of sacks, you got to take that serious. And when you don't do anything to help your offensive line, to be a better offensive line by running the ball, you get what you deserve. I'm with you on that, Goose.
Yeah, they league low 25 minutes of a possession a game. You cannot score if you're not in the field with your offense.
Meanwhile, on Sunday night, the Redskins clicking on all cylinders as they knock off the Raiders. Looked pretty good on Sunday night.
They really did, and the Raiders are one of those teams around the league that everybody was talking about going into Week 3. So an impressive performance by the Washington Redskins, a team that had beaten the Rams the week before. Jared Goff threw an interception late in that game with an opportunity to go down and win. So this is a Redskin team now that's kind of hitting their stride. And I thought maybe they replaced the Giants. You said maybe not a division champion, but definitely a competitive team. I think you have to look around now. If you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, who scares you in the division right now? A lot of people are going to go Philly. I'd be more Washington. That defense is good with Minuski and Tom Sula on that coaching staff. They're playing hard.
And through 3 weeks, only 2 unbeaten teams left in the league. That would be the Falcons and the Chiefs. Is Kansas City the most complete team in the league?
Right now, but let me caution you here. Last year at this time, Baltimore and Minnesota were 3-0, and neither finished with a winning record. So let's slow down on the 3
It looks like the Chiefs got a good thing.
Yeah, I think they're loaded. And I'll tell you what, they are a lot fast. This is the fastest Chiefs team I can recall in a long time. They get after their defense. They can run the ball. They can throw it. I mean, this is as complete a team. Look at New England. They should have lost to Houston. They lost to Kansas City, and everybody thinks they're a top 3 team. And this team very well could be 1 and 2.
Andy Reid, keep rolling. The NFC East old school.
And the rookie running back, Kareem Hunt, 3rd-round pick out of Toledo. All right, we wrap up Cowboys Insider in just a moment with our keys to a Cowboys win over the Rams.
Cowboys Insider, presented by Baylor Scott & White, was brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world. Rico's, make every game a home game with Rico's. Baylor Scott & White, it's easy to find the right doctor right now at BaylorScottandWhite.com. And by NFL Game Pass, You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' films and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
2nd and 5 at the 12 play action. Palmer is sacked by Lawrence. He ran right around the tight end. Mistake to ask Jermaine Gresham to block Tank Lawrence. And Tank just got the Cowboys' 3rd sack of the night.
Can Tank Lawrence have another multiple sack game against the Rams at noon Sunday at AT&T Stadium? Final couple of minutes here of Cowboys Insider. Time for our keys to a Cowboys win. We're going to start with Mr. Nate Newton. What do you think, Nate?
The key to this game here is our offensive line has to play well. No slow starts. You got to start fast, and you got to finish strong. They got a good front 7, and we have to play well. Get off to a hard start.
Mine is going to be the secondary for the Dallas Cowboys. This is a much improved Rams offense. They've scored 40 points twice. Got a little bit of help from the defense in the opener, but Jared Goff is not the quarterback you saw last year. Rick talked about Robert Woods, Sammy Watkins on the outside, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Thigby. They've got some weapons on the outside to throw to. Can this defensive secondary that was banged up all preseason continue to grow?
I think the key will be the run defense. Todd Gurley is a load. The Cowboys want to run the ball with Elliott. The Rams want to run the ball with Gurley. Whichever running back has the better day will be the running back on the winning team.
Well, it's a great matchup of running backs, and of course it is an early start, one of those rare anymore. It's rare, a noon kickoff at AT&T Stadium, so make sure you get out there early. It's the first of back-to-back home games. You got the Rams this week, the Packers next week, but Nate, you can't look ahead to Green Bay, right?
Definitely. Aaron Donald would not let you look ahead. Michael Brockers would not let you look ahead. Believe me. Robert Quinn would not let you look ahead.
How about Todd Gurley?
Oh, my
Todd
God.
Gurley,
He's gotta be
too.
the
What was
sexiest
it?
man in
And we'll be back again next week here on
I'm telling
Cowboys
you, he's
Insider
sexy,
when we
man.
look ahead to the Green Bay Packers. But it's the Rams first. We'll see you next week on Cowboys Insider.